Hello, this is Dr. Cory Frogley with our In the Blue Facebook Live event. And today is a fantastic opportunity because we are actually hosting a very special guest, a very dear friend of mine. If you've been following our blogs, this is the super pilot, Dr. Mark Mosier, that's been doing unbelievable work, humanitarian work down in the state of Texas with all the devastation that happened down there with the hurricane. And to give you a little background on Mark, not only is he's an amazing pilot, but an amazing dentist and has a long career of not only an incredibly successful practice career, but also as a coach, a mentor, a DSO board member, DSO coach. He's done just incredible work. So, Mark, welcome to the show. We are honored to have you today.
Well, Cory, boy, that's a flattering introduction. I greatly appreciate it. But I mean, I'm not sure which way to take this now because you mentioned several topics already. But anything that I've been able to accomplish, it's because of the grace of God and the people that I surround myself with. I have some fantastic people that I'm able to work with and support me, right down to my wife and my children. And I've been blessed. I have a very fortunate life and fortunate career, and it's all been good. I've had a good run, I guess you could say, and I don't know if I'm halfway done yet, so it's all good.
Well, I'm here to also, you do have a good life. Not somebody observing from the outside in, but again, great lives are not just by accident. Great lives are because of great choices, and I've been honored to be a part of that life over the last couple of years, and so anyway, enough gushing about Mark. I'm just embarrassing him.
Okay. Well,
But today's topic is cool because Mark has a lot of great experience of helping dentists with one of our biggest requests that we get as a company, Blue IQ, on how do I keep my team members, my providers, my team members? Do I implement bonus systems? Do I bribe them with money? Do I feed them lunch? I mean, there's all these little questions, but Mark has come up with just from his own experience, great tools and techniques of creating a culture that gets people to stay because they love being a part of an incredible organization. So, Mark, I'm going to bring up the presentation, and we've titled this End Your Struggles with Team Turnover. So the first slide that you've presented for us is right there. Find and identify long-term candidates. So share with us your culture, your philosophy of how to create this.
Let me back up just a little bit. Anything I talk about, we're focusing dentists because it could be a DSO or an individual practice, but it's still the same. If you lose an employee, a hygienist, an assistant, a front office, a dentist, it hurts. I mean, it hurts emotionally and it hurts financially. When I got out of school, I was told every time you lose an assistant, it was $10,000. And I think that was a low number. That was back in 1985. I think that was a low number. It's a lot higher than that. And after building a de novo DSO years ago, running DSOs, consulting for DSOs, and large group practices, the number one way to not hit your budget, to lose money, to take a hit in finances and team stress is to lose a dentist. There's no question. And other employees follow that route also. We work really hard to get new patients. But how hard do we work to keep the patients? How hard do we work to keep our staff, our dentists? So I have a little advantage when it comes to doctor turnover, when it comes to consultants, and the fact that I practiced for over 25 years. My father and grandfather both dentists. I grew up in it, and I learned a little bit about what it's like from the other side. We have a lot of consultants telling people what to do, and I'm one of those, but I do know what it's like as a dentist. I know what it's like to lose a dental associate. I know what it's like to lose a hygienist or an assistant. And, and it hurts, and it hurts, financially too. So, we can minimize some of these efforts by hiring right to start with. How do you find the right employee? How do you identify them? I could talk about this topic for a couple hours. There are so many ways. I've heard some of the most creative ways from hiring people, from administrating dental IQ tests to playing those little games, those memory recall games, because people have to be multitaskers, and but when I've seen people check memories by rearranging the front office and having them try to put it back the way they remember it, and just interesting test. But target marketing is a statement that comes up to me often, and I'm a big believer in it. You pretty much get what you ask for. I mean, it's amazing when you run an ad, it may say must have positive self-esteem, must be a self-starter and team player, and you say, yeah, that's great, but
everybody thinks they are. Yeah.
Everybody thinks you are, but you'd be amazed how many people that eliminates, because not everybody has high self-esteem, and not everybody thinks they can do it. And that does eliminate a lot of people. I saw a technique where, actually, I did this before I was hiring an assistant. I said I want a 500-word on one piece of paper, 500-word statements why we should hire you. Then written, handwritten, send to this PO box. Well, if they're not willing to follow instructions, they get eliminated. I mean, I learned so much from that. I had a lot of them are typed. One was written and almost looks like crayon. One is torn out spiral notebook paper. But you learn a lot from people. And I hired a 14-year front office from that strategy. And I think I had tears in my eyes when I read it. But to make that an effort today, it's so easy to push a button and send out 500 applications on Monster. I want somebody that's going to be a little motivated. As I worked with admissions in a dental school, and motivation is really, really important to us. And one of the number one characteristics I look for, and I look for this in a dentist candidate too, is do they have the desire to be a lifelong learner? Being a dentist is a license to learn. And that's true for hygienists or anybody, any staff member. What are they going to do to be self-motivated? So identifying that by targeted interview questions is important. One of the biggest mistakes I see in interviews is, as dentists, we spend our whole career trying to make people feel comfortable. And now we're in an interview, and because that's what we do, we're trying to make the applicant feel comfortable. We end up trying to sell ourselves on them, sell the job on them. No. That's not what it's about. This is about them.
Yeah.
So ask a tough question, bite your tongue, let them squirm. Feel behave under pressure. Let them squirm a little bit. It's so important to see what they're about by a little bit of pressure and how they perform under pressure. Because a dental office is either awfully stressful or awfully exciting. It's kind of a paradigm where you see yourself. One of the basic things I look for is 2 years at something. To me, that's just a minimum. If I get a stack of applications, I'll go through them. I want 2 years at something.
Yeah.
Some people can't stay married for 2 years. So they're just out of dental school. They're a new grad. They haven't been working for 2 years, but do they have a job for 2 years while they're in college dental school? Were they in a fraternity for 2 years? Do they do anything for 2 years?
Yeah,
You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed how many people jump from this, that, and that. And when I don't see some kind of consistency in their behavior, in their life, I'm just going to be another name on their list of employers.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And those are key points. I hope our audience has taken notes today, because those are money. I mean, I just got done interviewing a round of new team members, and one of my favorite questions to ask is, whatever the candidate's name is, let's say it's Mary, but I say, Mary, where is Mary at in her journey at becoming the best version of herself? And I have been blown away at what people will share with me. I mean, like, not in a good way. They'll tell me about their emotional stress. They'll tell me about their recent divorce, or their. I actually had an interviewee tell me, I'm kind of lost right now, and I thought, oh my gosh, like, I'm supposed to offer you a job and come take the reins of a front office when you're lost. How can you lead if you're lost? So great comments, great things there.
Yeah.
So fostering. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there are a lot of good questions to ask. Asking a candidate if money was not an object, if you didn't have to work, if you could have whatever you wanted as far as a career, a lifestyle, what would that be? And you can learn a lot. You kind of tipped on that. They were being honest with you. They're telling you they're having issues and they wouldn't be a good candidate.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of thinking, for pressure from my staff, oh, we can help them. Well, one of the most important things you can do when you grow a business is hire people that fit the needs. Do not design the business around a person, unless that
Amen to
person
that.
is Elvis Presley or Garth Brooks, somebody that's really unique. But other than that, always fit the person to your need and keep it that way.
Can I just
you'll hire
reiterate?
correctly.
Yeah, let me reiterate that for the audience. Don't get in the trap of hiring somebody because you feel like you can help, like the company culture is going to make them a better person. Uh, I amen to that. I testify to that. You've got to hire great people from the start.
I fired one person in my entire life. And the reason I didn't fire more is I think we hired right. And that one person was somebody we thought we could help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. So going into this foster and owner mentality, that's difficult because most of these team members and especially associate doctors they've never owned anything before, a business. And until you wear that hat, you really don't understand the burden that an owner carries. So how do you do that, Mark?
Of all the tips we're going to talk about today, this is the one that I think you should put an exclamation mark behind. And again, as a dentist who's been in the driver's seat, having my own practice, managing and building a DSO and helping other DSOs and large groups become successful. Think about these dentists that start, and this is true for hygienists too, or assistants or front office, but think about these dentists that start dental school. Now, DSOs, for example, I've been involved with DSOs now strongly for more than a decade. And these dentists, most of them didn't start dental school thinking, I'm going to be part of a DSO. Because they grew up in an environment where most dentists were independent. I mean, 8 years ago, 5% of all the dentists, only 5% were in DSOs in groups. And today it's pushing 30%. Just 8 years later, from 5 to almost 30%.
Wow.
And that's including any kind of group practice. And so the climate has changed. And my point is most dentists don't start school thinking, I'm going to be an employee or an associate. Most dentists don't finish school thinking that. But when they look at their debt, maybe halfway through the senior year, they're thinking, oh, my debt, wow. And to start a practice, oh, my gosh. And with 52+% being female, and females are capable of having babies and being mothers, that does change how some of them think. I've seen it from firsthand experience. Especially after they have a couple of kids, they may want to spend more time at home with their children and being a mother, and I applaud that. That's one of the most valuable. My own wife was high-end executive, 1,000 employees, and she chose to be a full-time stay-at-home mom and even homeschool the kids, be a teacher.
Wow.
16 years later, she's done an amazing job, and we have a legacy to show that. But my point is, so you have these dentists that, okay, now I'm going to be an employee, but they didn't go into it originally thinking that. And even if they did go into dental school thinking it, the philosophy should not change. When you treat a dentist like an employee, you're probably going to lose them, have a much higher chance of losing them. And let me tell you some common mistakes that DSOs do. So a lot of DSOs they're small, they'll have a COO. If they're big, they'll have field coordinators, regional coordinators that may represent the company and go out. And usually they're women, but some are men. I'm just saying commonly, and commonly they have a history of an office manager. And so it's normal to them to work with the office manager. They go into the office on their own time, it works for them. The dentist is busy, don't have time to talk to them. They talk to the office manager. So what happens, they end up administrating the practice management systems through the office manager. That becomes their primary point of contact. So the dentist isn't being included in some things. The dentist isn't helping lead some things. They're not being a project leader. They're not leading.
Yeah.
They're being treated, they're being minimized as an employee, and you lose them. I talked to there's a DSO that's been around for a long time, and they're very large. And, the longer you've been around, the more you figured out your mistakes. And one of the top two things that they said they learned was to work through the dentist. treat the dentist like they're the leader in the practice. And by doing so and treating them as such, this starts breeding the ownership mentality because they become the leader. I like to train leaders to lead. I like to go in, I can go in and work with an office and they might get a bump in their productivity. But when you train leaders to lead, to how to implement systems, keep them in place, then it continues to last. It's like you give somebody a fish, they eat for a day, you teach them how to fish, they feed them for a lifetime. It's that type of philosophy. But equally important to this, and this is so important, there's a study by McGregor years ago, and they thought, well, is it more important to teach skills or to make somebody feel valued? And the answer is really valued. Most employees, most dentists, associates will leave a business because of lack of appreciation or lack of feeling valued versus lack of money. Now, the Hawthorne effect is just that. So in the study, they try to figure out which is more important, the value, the feeling valued and appreciated, or learning the skills of how to do it right. Well, the answer clearly is both. But when you can create an environment where they feel so valued, so appreciated, they will want to please you. And it's the same thing works with your children when you work with your own kids. When you catch them doing something right, it's the old 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard back in 1980. You can get it on Amazon now for $1 used. It's a Bible to me when I work with these leaders, these dentists, novice managers. It's required reading. I recommend everybody needs to reread it every 6 months. It's a simple book. You can read it in 30 minutes, but it's a simple philosophy. You catch people doing something right on a regular basis. You do it with your staff. You do it with your children when you put them to bed. You do it with the dentist. And the more you do it, the more impactful it is. And when you do it in front of other people, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities with the systems. You told Mrs. Jones, Becky's going to make your temporary crown for you, and she's the best I have. I wish I could be as good as she is someday. Just little things add up. You catch your front office not letting somebody cancel who's trying to cancel. And as a DSO who's working with the dentist, same thing. You recognize what they're doing right. You've heard when you catch somebody doing something wrong, you have to correct that with like 8 right things. Or, the Oreo technique, I think good, bad, good. You catch them doing something right, and then you bracket it with the constructivism. The best coaches in the world got this down. I mean, Vince Lombardi, Lou Holtz, these guys, John Wooden, they have this down. They know how to make people feel really good about themselves and how to get the most out of them. So when you get this leadership mentality going, what follows leadership mentality is because you trust them, and after trust comes loyalty. And that's the order it happens. You show you trust them, you trust them to lead, you give them the tools, you support them, and then comes the loyalty. And with loyalty, you don't have turnover. I mean, you'll see employees in the office in the evening, not on the clock, doing something for the office because they feel they own it. They're taking work home, calling patients, and they're not getting paid for it because they feel they own it. I mean, as a dentist who used to own his own practice, I got to the point I felt I just worked there. I thought I was a leader, but I just worked for my team. My team was the owner. They owned it. And that was a good thing.
That's a great thing. Oh my gosh, that's a great thing. Yeah, fantastic. So we go into productivity because if you create that ownership mentality and begin catching your team members in good things and acknowledge those and cultivate that, help us understand how that directly impacts productivity then.
Well, again, I mentioned when they feel valued and appreciated, they want to please. And, motivation or what you catch them on isn't all about money. It can be about other things, how they're leading their own team, their staff, how everybody's happier. I think everything should be in a balance. And I pay close attention to people being in balance. And it's interesting. Patients can tell when it's a happy practice. And attitudes are contagious, as yours with catching. I tell these doctors, when they put their hand on, I think I got this million miles on the back doorknob of their office, it's showtime. I mean, I don't care if you're tired, you didn't sleep well, you just got to fight your spouse, you're in a bad mood, what? You're going to be in a good mood because your staff doesn't deserve a sour attitude because it is contagious. You say, well, that's not sincere. Yeah. Well, you're the leader. You're the leader. You come in and you fake it for 5 minutes. When you're around them, it won't be a fake 5 minutes later because Their good
It's
attitudes that reflect
contagious.
on you. You know,
Yeah.
you should train these people. Leave the problems on the doorstep. Yeah, we care if your front office's daughter is sick or broke her arm. We care about that. But these
Yeah.
personal problems, leave them on the doorstep. You know, we want to create this environment. And so when everybody's happy and doing well, it's amazing how production goes through the roof. I mean, I had a dentist who's going through a divorce, and once he got through it, they became just productivity doubled just because they didn't have this stress on. And you know, stress from any kind of stress will affect productivity. And then there's a whole nother area that dentists wear a lot of hats. And when you can rally behind them and support them in areas that are their strengths, they can be more productive. And that's the old Lee Iacocca, the guy who saved Chrysler. You know, he identified strengths. So I firmly believe that a dentist, if he wants to be really, really productive, should do what the state dental board says he or she has to do. In addition to that, you know, what is required to establish and maintain a high quality relationship with their team and their patients. So it's not just all work, work, work. And with that, you're leveraging things off and you're scheduling the doctor time only, not chairs like they do in dental school. And you become very productive. And it's fun. You're not stressed. You run on time. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And it works well.
And that's why, Blue IQ has created the ability to connect with our team members through data. And up on the screen here for our viewers, I've got one of our doctor dashboards that clearly they can see, right? You can set this up to where they get a report each morning or at the end of the week or midweek to really look at this. Are they hitting the benchmarks that you've sat down and discussed with them? Are they owning? It's almost like a measurement of that ownership mentality. And what we have found, and Mark and I have talked quite a bit about, is when we present this to the team members and they can clearly see if they're hitting the benchmarks or not. We can praise them for the things that they're doing great, but they'll automatically tell you what needs to be done better in order to correct the red metrics, which is nice about Blue IQ because it just puts it out there and they become accountable.
Yeah, this is very exciting to me. Very exciting. When I do due diligence on a group, I walk in, I see money laying all over the floor. And there are some real common things people miss the boat on, and one is measuring. What is measured grows. And it'll grow in the direction you want it to grow, up, down, side. Whatever your goal is. You want to reduce late cancellations. You want to increase case acceptance. And one thing that I really feel firmly on is 100% of the people that will have an effect on your key point indicator, your goal, which you're trying to have an impact on, should know how they're being measured. They needed to be able to measure themselves at a given point in time because it will impact. I remember the first time I ever measured anything, long time ago, we did a little, it was a bonus plan with the team. And it was a factor of productions and collection over time. And I showed them how I measured it. They were on the computer like every day measuring it. And you don't think that impacted their behavior? Unbelievable. Then I did one on reducing late cancellations. Same thing. And
nice.
I mean, that was amazing how it impacted the behavior. I heard them talking to patients saying things that was good that I've never heard them say before. And it was only because they knew where they were. They knew where they wanted to be, is because we were measuring. But I really firmly believe that I'm going to say it again, any goal you have, you have a desired result, you're measuring it, 100% of the people that have an impact on that goal, which maybe your entire team, you need to clearly understand why the goal is, they get you the buy-in, and how it's being measured.
Nice. Which leads us to that whole positive work environment, because we all love to win. I mean, winning is exciting, and more importantly, when they figure out how to win, what they need to do to connect the dots to win with the patient. We are a patient-centric organization. But again, when we do our part, the patient comes first. The data then shows the measurement of the systems that are winning, and that's where they feel valued. That's where they feel excited.
We've already touched on a lot of these things because it's hard to put any one of these tips in a silo because they all cross over in each other.
Sure.
But this healthy, positive work environment with everybody feeling valued. It's so critical. And another area that, I have 7 steps of goal implementation that I always think about in everything I do. And I teach these, and I guarantee my clients that if they don't achieve a goal, or if they're slow to achieve a goal, it's because one of these steps are missing. And one of them is the last step, second last step, which is celebration. You have to celebrate your successes.
Absolutely.
You have to. I mean, and there are lots of different ways to do that. I see offices that pay out bonuses for different things. It could be like canceling no shows. It could be case acceptance or new patients, whatever it is, and they just include it in the check, and that's it. Well, that's not celebrating. That is not celebrating. If it does involve money, well, you can make a big celebration out of how you give that. Make it a separate check, pay them in cash, whatever. Make it a big deal. But most of the celebrations aren't even about money. It's about it's like the football team you root on that you don't own, you don't coach, you don't even have a kid on. You're excited they won. You're celebrating that victory with a bunch of strangers around you, or maybe they're not strangers, but you're still celebrating.
That's
fun. This is so key. You look forward to the celebration. Yeah. So this is all part of this environment. And, I said before, attitudes are contagious. And like-minded people usually run together and think together. And when you're working together as a team, celebrating together as a team, it just synergizes the system. It just, 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2 equals 10. It just kind of snowballs as it goes on. And so it's very exciting. It's very exciting when this all comes together.
Yeah, and we talk about that celebration and recognition. And one of the things that Blue IQ allows you to do is actually assign a specific metric to a team or to a very specific team member. If it's within their roles and duties, it allows us to measure people, systems, and connection of systems in the processes. And this is where we can celebrate that individual for nailing that goal.
You just touched on one of my steps, measuring, of course, but one of the steps is project leader. Now, if you don't have a project leader, that's some individual who's accountable for that goal. That doesn't mean they have to do it all. It just means that they're the ones to make sure things are getting done, it's getting measured. And then you have to have accountability at all levels. So that project leader may be responsible that everybody's doing their job, focusing on this goal. And then they may be accountable to the dentist, who may be accountable to the COO, if it's a group, whatever, but accountability at all levels. And if you don't have that project leader, these great ideas just stay great ideas, and
they don't get implemented.
Steps up. I think as President Truman said, the buck stops here, and you have to have somebody who's going to be accountable to that. And with Blue IQ or a system like this that measures, you can truly put them in charge of this. Again, I'm referring to my 7 steps of success and goal implementation. They have to have the tools, and the tools do vary from goal to goal. But Blue IQ is just one of the tools that we can be used to help measure, recognize, celebrate. And the last step to me is, okay, now the goal has become habit. And that's what you want. It's gotten to the point where it's habit, it's repeatable, and then you move on to the next couple of goals. Well, you have to do long time follow-up. So maybe initially we're measuring every day. Maybe we're discussing at the morning huddle. Maybe it's a goal that doesn't even measure every day, maybe once a week or even once a month. But once you have goal implementation, it is human nature to take the path of least resistance. Once you push a cruise control button, you're not in cruise, you're in a steady decline. That's even ignoring the fact that dentistry is evolving and changing in itself.
Exactly.
But you will steady decline. I learned that the hard way a couple of decades ago. But so you have to continually to monitor those goals. Maybe not as often, maybe not daily to morning huddle, maybe quarterly, even every 6 months, whatever, depending on the goal. But you have to continue to monitor those things and talk about it. 99% of the things that are really discussed at team meetings are rarely new. They're usually old policies, trying to bring them back in, put them back in front of us, come back to them. And that's very important, very important.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you. So we already touched on bonus systems. Just a little for those
Yeah.
participating. Look at our a couple weeks ago, our broadcast, a whole thing on bonus systems that you can really make sure you're celebrating, you're acknowledging the right team members, the right team leaders at the right time, using data to be able to indicate, their participation in that. So Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. I just adore you. You've been a great
Oh,
mentor
sure.
to me, a great leadership in our company, and just a great human being. And I hope you guys check out our blog. If you guys are new to Mark Mosier, he's written several blogs for us. We've actually got a whole report on some of his humanitarian work down there in Texas. And Mark, thank you for being a great human being. Thank you for all of your wisdom today. And I think that if our audience can share this, if you know a dental owner, a business owner of any kind, if it share this, because this is gold. This is free gold. So pass this out to your friends. And again, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. Any last words of wisdom before we sign off?
Well, first of all, Cory, I really appreciate your words of flattery, and it's been a true honor to know you and to be on this broadcast. And I guess, when we're talking about doctor turnover and patient turnover is, the golden rule, treat people like you want to be treated. It's pretty simple. Put people in your own, put yourself in their shoes. You say, don't make decisions, you walk a mile in their shoes. So if you can do nothing but catch them doing things right on a daily basis, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed how things will just explode. Even with your own family, do it with your children, do it with your spouse, and do it with your patients. It's a great way to market internally. Who doesn't like to hear something good about themselves, to be flooded by positive things? And
Yeah.
it just makes the world a better place too.
Amen. Words of wisdom from the great one. Thank you, Dr. Mark Mosier. We will be here every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Join us for lots of great broadcasts coming up. Again, this is Dr. Cory with In the Blue with Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us today.